Everyone, I'm the first reporter. My topic is all about building positive employee relations. Employee relations is the managerial activity that involves establishing and maintaining the positive employee-employer relationships that contribute to satisfactory productivity, motivation, moral, and discipline, and to maintain a positive, productive, and cohesive work environment. Employers can do many things to build positive employee relations. Some examples include good training, fair appraisal, and competitive pay and benefits. However, most employers also institute special employee relation program to maintain positive employee relation. This include employee fair treatment program in improving employee relation through improved communications, developing employee recognition relation program, and having fair and predictable disciplinary procedure. Next. Employee relation program for building and maintaining positive employee relations. Ensuring fair treatment. Anyone who has suffered unfair treatment at work knows it is demoralizing. It reduces moral poisons, trust, and negatively impacts employee relation and performance. Employee of abusive supervisors are more likely to quit and to report lower job and life satisfaction and higher stress. The effects on employees of such abusiveness are particularly pronounced where the abusive supervisor seems to have support from higher ups. Even when someone just witnessed abusive supervisor, for instance, is saying a co-worker abuse, it trigger adverse reaction including ethical behavior at work. Fair treatment reflects concrete actions such as employees are treated with respect and employees are treated fairly. There are many reasons why managers should be fair. The golden rule is one obvious reason. What may not be so obvious it is the unfairness can backfire on the company. For example, victims of unfairness exhibit more workplace deviance such as theft and sabotage. Victims of unfairness also suffer a range of ill effects including poor health, strain, and psychological conditions. Unfairness leads to increased tensions between the employee and his or her family or partner in terms of employee relation. Employees' perceptions of fairness relate positively to employee commitment, job involvement, satisfaction with the company, job and leader, and organizational citizenship behaviors, and negatively to employees' turnover intention. Next, as you can see at the picture, refers to just procedure in the allocation of reward or discipline in terms of the actual procedures being even-handed and fair. Refers to a system of distributing rewards and discipline in which the actual result or outcome are even-handed and fair. For example, in general, the Department College procedure allows for requests for clarification or for additional information about a decision. Distributive justice items included I am fairly rewarded considering the responsibilities I have. Then the instructors completed organization and commitment questionnaires with items such as I am proud to tell others that I am part of this department college. Their students then completed surveys with items such as the instructor was sympathetic to my needs and the instructor treated me fairly. The results were impressive. Instructor who pers- perceived high distributive and procedural justice were more committed. Next, bullying and victimization. Some workplace unfairness such as bullying is blatant. Bullying and victimization singly out someone to harass and mistreat is a serious problem. For example, a survey of 1,000 US employees conducted that about 45% say they work for abusive bosses. 19 victims will often suffer in silence in fear of retribution. 20. The US government says most would agree that bullying involving three things. First one is imbalance of power. People who bully use their power to control or harm, and the people being bullied may have a hard time defending themselves. Second is intent to cause harm. Action done by accident are not bullying. The person bullying has a goal to cause harm. Third is repetitions. Incident of bullying happen to the same person over and over by the same person or group, and the bullying can take many forms such as verbal, name-calling, teasing, social, spreading rumors, leaving people out on purpose, breaking up friendships, physical, hitting, punching, shoving, cyberbullying, using the internet, mobile phones, or the other digital technology to harm others. Next, improving employee relations through communications program. Many employers use communicate program on the reasonable assumption that employees feel better about their employers when they they're kept in the loop. For example, one university's website emphasizes its intention to keep employees in the loop regarding matters like policies and benefits. This employer uses an open door policy to encourage communication between employees and managers. An employee handbook covering basic employment information as well as abundant email and hard copy notes and memos. Next, Develop employee recognition relations program. In addition, communication programs company-wide employee recognition and award program improve employee relations. As one example, trade journal notes how the Murray Supply held a special dinner for all its employees at is which it gave out special awards for things like safe driving, tenure with the company, and branch employee of the year. Recognition and service award program requires planning. For example, starting a service award program requires reviewing employee tenure and setting meaningful award periods. It also requires setting a budget, selecting award, having a procedure for monitoring what awards to actually award, having a process for giving awards, and measuring program success. Similarly, starting a recognition program requires developing criteria, creating forms and procedures for submitting and reviewing nominations, selecting awards, and having a process for awarding the awards. Next, use employee involvement programs. Employee relations also tend to improve when employees are involved with the company in positive ways. Employers encourage involvement in various ways. Some organize focus group. A focus group is a small sample of employees who are presented with a specific issue and who interactively express their opinions and attitudes on the issue with the group's assigned facilitator. And next, the ethical organizations. First, ethics is not theoretical, instead is graces the wheels that make businesses work. Manager who promise raises but don't deliver salespeople who say the orders coming when it's not. Production manager who take kickbacks from supplier, they all corrode and the trust that day-to-day business transaction rely on. Second, it is hard to even imagine an unethical company with good employee relations. Third, many ethical predicaments involves human resource management. Ethics are the principles of conduct governing an individual or a group. The principal people use to decide what their conduct should be. Of course, not all conduct involves ethics. For example, buying an iPad usually is not an ethical decision. Instead, ethical decisions are those rooted in morality. Morality refers to society's accepted standards of behavior. To be more precise, morality always involves the most fundamental question of what is right and wrong, such as stealing, murder, and how to treat other people. Next, ethics and employee rights. Societies don't rely just on employers' ethics or sense or fairness or morality to ensure that they do what right. Societies also institute laws and procedures for enforcing these laws. These laws lay out what employers can and cannot do. For instance, in terms of discriminating based on race, in so doing, these laws also carve out explicit rights for employees. Next, organizational culture is the characteristic, values, traditions, and behaviors a company's employees share. For example, if management really believes honesty in the best policy, the action it takes should reflect this value. Manager therefore should think through how to send the right signals to their employees. In other words, create the right culture. Doing so includes choose as leader, clarify expectations, use sign and symbols, provide physical support, interact frequently. Choose as leaders. People who reflect the culture you're trying to achieve. Clarify expectations. Make it clear that what values you want subordinates to adhere to. For example, ethics statements shows the company takes ethics seriously. Third, use sign and symbols. Symbolism what the manager actually does ultimately does the most to create and sustain the company culture. As we said earlier, managers should walk the talk. They cannot say don't falsify the financials and then do so themselves. Next, provide physical support. The physical sign of the employer's values its incentives plan, appraisal system, and disciplinary procedures. For instance, send strong signal regarding what employees should and should not do. For example, do promotions, rewards ethical behavior, or penalize it. The last is interact frequently with employees to explain the values that are important. Next, managing employee discipline. The purpose of discipline is to encourage employees to behave sensibly at work. Discipline is required when an employee violates a rule. Proper disciplinary procedures are important for several reasons. For one thing, positive employee relation requires trust, and few personnel action will undermine trust as will arbitrary discipline. Legal concerns are important too. Next, the three pillars of fair discipline. Disciplining employees is often unavoidable, but any such discipline should be rooted in the need to be fair. The manager builds a fair discipline process on three pillars: rules and regulation. Second, a system of progressive penalties, and last, an appeals process. The first one is rules and regulations. An acceptable disciplinary process begins with set up of clear disciplinary rules and regulations. The rules should cover problems such as deep distractions of company property, drinking on the job, and insubordination. Examples of rules include poor performance is not acceptable. Each employee is expected to perform his or her work properly and efficiently and to meet established standard of equality. Alcohol and drugs do not mix with work. The use of either during working hours and reporting for work under the employees influence of either are both strictly prohibited. The purpose of the rules is to inform employees ahead of time what is and is not acceptable behavior. Tell employees prepare preferable preferably in writing what is not permitted. The employee handbook should contain the rules and regulations. Next is progressive penalties. A system of progressive penalties is the second pillar of effective discipline. The severity of the penalty usually depends on the offense and the number of times it has occurred. For example, most companies issue warning for the first unexcused lateness, and however, for a fourth offense, discharge is the usual disciplinary action. And lastly, appeals process. Third, the aim of an appeals process is to ensure that if supervisors mete out discipline fairly, guaranteed fair treatment. Multi-step program illustrates this when looked at in a moment. An appeals process is essential but is no panacea. Often employers can mitigate the effects of unfair discipline by catching it during an appeal. However, some supervisory behavior may be impossible to overcome. For example, a behavior that attack the employees' personal and or social identity are difficult to remedy. Remember that punishment is particularly objectionable when it seems motivated by revenge. Next, discipline without punishment. Traditional discipline process have two main drawbacks. First, no one likes being punished. Second, punish tends to gain short-term compliance, but not long-term cooperation. Discipline without punishment aims to avoid these drawbacks by reducing the punitive nature of the discipline. Steps include issue an oral reminder for a first infractions, have a private discussion with the employee. Second, should another incident arise within 6 weeks, issues a formal written reminder, and place a copy in the employee's personnel file. Also, hold a second private discussion with the employee. Third, give a one-day decision-making leave. If another incident occurs in the next 6 weeks or so, tell the employee to take a one-day leave with pay and to consider whether he or she wants to abide by the rules when the employee returns to work. He or she meets with you and gives you a decision. For if no further incident occur in the next year or so, purge the one-day paid suspensions from the person file. If the behavior is repeated, the next step is dismissal. The process would not apply to exceptional circumstances, criminal behavior, or in plant fighting might be grounds for immediate dismissal, for instance. Next. That's all. Thank you.